What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video where we're deep in the revival of this 1959 Chevy El Camino. Now, for all of you that have been following along, you know exactly what this is, but if you're new to the channel or this is your first video, this is a 1959 Chevy El Camino. And 1959 Chevys got to be one of the coolest cars. I mean, check out that rear end. How cool is that? And El Camino, that makes it even more rare. Now, this one I found on Marketplace a few years back, probably about 7 years ago, and it sat mostly the last 7 years in my driveway until last year we made lots of progress. Now, if you've been following along, you know that we've already gone through and completely overhauled the chassis. Everything is new underneath, not so new above. Meaning this might be one of the rustiest Chevys on YouTube. Well, let me show you. You know, when I acquired this, all the trim and chrome had already been stripped off this thing. Now, I already have it all, and I've acquired all the pieces that were missing. I just haven't put it on yet because we are still working on the mechanicals. You know, like I said, I went through and completely rebuilt the chassis. And when I was saying rustiest, this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's Swiss cheese in here. But it's not slowing me down. We're going to get this thing back on the road. Now, not only did we go through the whole chassis, but I pulled the front end off of this so we could access this whole front end, because we went through and rebuilt the whole front end with all new brake lines and new bushings, ball joints. Everything has been overhauled up here. And then we put this 70s Chevy 350 that came with the car, with the stock 3-speed, back in here after we got it running. Now, I say all this as if this was easy and it didn't fight us, but as a matter of fact, it's been fighting us the whole step of the way. Some of you even suggested this car might be cursed. Oh. Whoa. Look at all the rust. Oh my goodness. Check it out, guys. It's pretty funky down in there. Layers of rust just piled. And here's that center section, just rusted up. Look, I mean, there's just so much dirt and sediment just piled in here. Like rusted through right there. And well, this side is completely rotted away. Oh no! No! Oh. Looks like water. Uh-oh. No bueno. Here we go. Ew. I think I discovered an issue. Yeah, but there's appears to be a huge crack. Tab was broke off. Well, I'm realizing now that's for the starter mounting. There's an issue. Look at the starter teeth, and the 5 little teeth are almost an inch away from each other. Well, guys, that was another fail, another strikeout. The troubles are far from over. I just spent the last day or two fighting this. I don't know. I don't think it's cursed. I'm not really superstitious like that. But with that being said, the troubles are far from over. I just spent the last couple days dealing with this. And this is the clutch fork that we put into the transmission. It came with the car along with the bell housing, the motor, and the transmission. And I had been assuming that stuff all went together. And, you know, there's little details that separate the ears, but unless you're really knowledge, you don't really notice just by looking at them. And I went ahead and used this clutch fork and put the motor and transmission and bell housing all together with that new pressure plate and flywheel and clutch, and installed that all in there and had everything all bolted up. And then, well, you're probably wondering why this isn't in the car now. It's because I had to pull the motor and transmission back out of the car and separate it, because I had to put the right one in. When I tried to hook this up to the clutch rod, all that with the Z-bar, things weren't driving. And after a little research, I came to the realization that this clutch fork is not for a 59 Chevy, and you pretty much have to have a 59 Chevy clutch fork in there. You know, these are built with the proper dimensions and shapes and bends, and this one apparently is off like maybe a 61 or 2 Impala or Chevy. I had to order a 59 Chevy clutch fork and pull that motor and transmission back out, separate it, and put the right clutch fork in there. I still don't think it's cursed. It's just this one might be a little bit more on my end, is my fault, so I can't really blame the car, but I did put a little video together of me doing it, so let's go check that video out. I got that clutch fork out. This is the one that came with the transmission, the bell housing, and the car, the motor, all of that. So I had assumed it was the right one. Well, once again, I was wrong about that assumption. And, well, I had to order the right one. This is a remanufactured one. Pretty cheap. Came just in a couple days. But you could see the difference in the arm. You know, these are pretty particular in their bends and their shape, you know, for the travel and the right proper throw and everything. So, you know, this one was binding up on me when I tried connecting the rod that goes from this to the Z-bar. It doesn't have a notch cut out like this one does. And yeah, of course, the difference in the shape. I'm sure I could have probably cut and welded and made this one work. I think this is off of a 62 Impala or 62 Chevy, but regardless, we got the right one. And, well, now let's get the right one in and get this back together and back in the car. Okay, and now that leaves us back to where we were. Now we've got back to the point where we can start making progress again. And at this point, we're searching for wins, because they're coming far and few between. And, well, we did get the Driveline completed. We have to put that in still. But another one is this right here. Check it out, guys. We got those wheels and tires on. These are those 14-inch with the 5-on-5 lug pattern that we got with these tires that I spent all that time painting and cleaning them up. Well, I kind of cheated. I went and bought wheel adapters. I know a lot of people don't like them, but this thing's just a cruiser. We're just gonna be cruising down the street. Eventually we're gonna get different wheel and tire combos, but to get this thing back on the road, we need to cut some corners because we're running out of time. So wheel adapters it is. Now I still have to put the hubcaps on. You know, everything's still dirty, so we'll get those on soon. But I'm considering that a win. So with this all back to this point, we can continue on with getting that clutch fork and clutch rod and that Z-bar and all that stuff connected. Let me show you what we're working with. So this is the Z-bar that we got for a 59 Chevy and the pivot ball, the frame mounted side pivot ball. And so already on the motor, we had installed the engine mount side pivot ball that we'll be able to slide this onto, and then this will mount onto the frame into a little bracket that's there, and then this will tuck into that, and that connects you know, the column shift part of this down to that clutch fork that we just installed through a clutch rod right here. This is our clutch rod. So I'm going to go ahead and install this back on the frame with these pivot balls and get that all situated, and bring it back in. Really quick, I'll just kind of show you what I'm dealing with here. You know, when I got this car, none of this was here. We have just the clutch coming through the floor, and then this bracket that's on the frame, and that was it. There was nothing else here. So I had to kind of figure out what we're missing, and with the help of a few of you, you know, 38 Racing was one of them. So I installed this engine side pivot ball into the block. There's a little spot for it right there. Another one here, I think, for the truck model or something, but it goes in right here. And then that Z-bar and other pivot ball that I just showed goes right here. The pivot ball will fit in here, and Z-bar will connect between the two. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing some of that. Alright, I figure I'd bring you in and show you where I'm at. Now there's that engine mounted pivot ball that I just slid this Z-bar tube over. It's got a rubber O-ring around that pivot ball, so it made that a nice seal. It was quite hard to push on over that, but now we're set into place. And then I can start installing this pivot ball on this frame side bracket with this felt. Let me go ahead and figure out how that all goes together. Okay, I got that frame side pivot ball and felt in there. I just put that felt over the pivot ball shaft, insert it into this Z-bar tube, which has these little contoured bushings in there to accept it and seat it nice. And then we had to use this little clip, this locating clip, and tighten it on here with the nut, and we've got it on there. Feels good. And of course then we just connect it here to the clutch rod. I got a little clip over there. You can see down there, yeah. So I have to connect this to the Z-bar there, and then the other end of this will connect down there to the clutch fork that you can barely even see, but that should all line up. And there's some adjustment to this, so we're gonna have to fine tune it, but yeah, it's coming along. Okay, I got the Z-bar all connected to the clutch rods and the clutch fork, and that's all been adjusted, and the clutch works. Now I'm hooking up the shifting rods. I've got one going to the arm on the transmission. I guess it'd be the first and reverse arm, but the other arm was having issues. It was binding up it's hard to see, but back here, back there, that little shift lever that comes off the transmission, the one that works second and third, the shift rod was hitting the transmission bell housing, and I couldn't figure it out for the life of me, and I started looking closer, and well, I'll go show you on the other transmission what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the one that came out of the El Camino, and these are the shift arms I was talking about. This one, I believe, is for the first and reverse, and it's almost identical to the one that's on the car. But this one that would be the second and third, the one that's on the car just comes straight down, and the shift rod was hitting the bell housing and wouldn't go into third, or wouldn't go into second, excuse me. So I started looking, and I see this one that shoots it way out here. So obviously this is the one that we need. So the drama continues. Now I got to remove this one and try to swap it for the one that's on the car. Alright, I got both those shift levers off and side by side so we could look at them. This is the one that was on the transmission that we're using, and that shift rod was actually hitting the bell housing. Well, here's the 59, the one we're supposed to be using, and you can see how that kicks it way over. So that's going to keep us from having the interference problem with the bell housing. And I just got to get under there and put this one on. Maybe I'll hit it with some spray paint really quick, and we'll continue on. All right, got those parts over here in the paint booth drying. I painted the shift arm and that rod as well, so we'll get those installed. Well, it's the next day. I spent last night getting the clutch fork and those shift rods and those transmission linkages all adjusted and squared away. Well, let me try to show you. All right, now we're up under here. Let me see if I can show you. Now, this is that shift linkage right here. This is the one that we painted and replaced, swapped out, and the shift rod painted, got it all cleaned up. And then up here's that clutch fork that we reinstalled. You got the shift rod all adjusted. Now, I did realize that I'm missing these bushings down here, these shift rod end bushings. So those are on the way, and the proper clips. So that'll free up or tighten up this play with those bushings in there that we're missing. I also need an inspection cover still. I need to get that covered up. Now, I did notice a little bit of oil right down here at the bottom of this flywheel. So I think, I mean, I couldn't really see it when I was behind the light up here, but I think the rear main seal might be leaking, which sucks. Well, you can see my Wix filter got beat up installing the motor. I got another one we'll swap out for this after we do the braking procedure, after we get this running again. But and then when I put the transmission, when I reinstalled it, I did pull the cross member out and cleaned it up and painted it and put some new hardware as well. So we're getting things buttoned up under here. So now with all those hooked up and adjusted, we got a working clutch and shifter, I think. I mean, we won't know until we can give it a test run, but let's get in here and I'll show you here. All right, so there's the clutch, and there we go. Now it might need a little bit of adjustment. Once we get this thing running and driving, we'll be able to figure out if that's adjusted right. And then with the shifter, I did notice that pulling it up in neutral here, you know, it's pulling it forward and back is super stiff. So I'm thinking that the grease is just gummed up in there. Oh, the air compressor just kicked on. Typical. But yeah, so we got reverse, first, third, and fourth. It's just in between, right in the neutral, where you have to pull it forward towards you and push it back. It's just super stiff. I know there's also a spring in here, so I think you have to get down to the column and maybe replace the spring, or at least get that grease cleaned up and replaced. Hopefully that'll free up the shifter a bit. But heck yeah, won't be long before we're driving this thing. So I was digging around here and just checking things out. You know, we got a working ignition. Some of these heat controls are pretty bound up. We're gonna have to oil up some cables and stuff probably. But and then, you know, this does have an Impala stainless trim kit in here. Somebody, the previous owner, put the Impala dash trim in here, which is pretty cool. And also Impala door panels, which, even though they're pretty rough, this one was even fallen off and had been taken off because that door lock needed to be accessed. But hopefully we could repair that one and get it working and put it back in here, because these are pretty sought after as well. But in the ashtray here, if I could get it open, it's pretty stiff, which is still full of gross cigarette butts from who knows when. But this has got a little push button right here. I wonder what this is for. I was thinking a cigarette lighter at first, but this isn't. This, I would think that's where it goes. I mean, right? That's a button. I can't pull anything out. It's just like maybe a starter button. Like maybe the ignition wasn't working and they wired in a starter button. Or, I mean, I don't think it would be a horn hidden in there. but that's kind of a mystery. I won't know until I'm starting to hook up power. And I can't pull anything out. That's a button right there. So if anybody knows what that could possibly be, let me know. It's cool. It's got the original stereo. I'm hoping that it works. I don't know what kind of longevity these things have, or if we have any chance of all of this thing working, but that'd be cool. And we got a clock. Hopefully we can get the gas tank fixed. I've got a new fuel sender on the way and fuel line, and we're gonna drop that tank either this video or the next and see if that's even usable. Temperature, gen, oil, and then it's got this wiper set up with the squirters. Somebody said this is like an addition too, that most El Caminos didn't come with this wiper setup. I'm not sure. Now the roof of this thing is looking pretty rough in here. I need to get in here and clean out the rest of this old material and anything that'll come down, because it's falling down on us and it's pretty rusty up here. This is mostly the headliner stuff, the inner structure. The outer structure seems fine. It was just the inner structure to hold on the headliner was just rotten. So a lot of that's going to be coming out. But the dash sure looks good. You know, I'd set myself a tight deadline with this car, trying to get it ready for the 4th annual shakedown. And we've had several setbacks along the way, which now we can't afford any more setbacks. It's crunch time. We need nothing but wins from this point. Well, yeah, there's still a lot to do and a lot of variables that could go wrong. So I got my fingers crossed. So let's kind of go for an easy win right now. Let's try to put that driveline in that we overhauled. I mean, what could go wrong? I mean, it was never installed in the car when I got it, and well, I've got a different transmission in there now, and well, that's also a different third member in the back. And I rebuilt the whole thing with a hammer. I mean, what could go wrong? I guess anything at this point. So, well, let's give it a try. Are we going to get another win or another fail? Let's go. Well, I got her up on jack, so I give myself some room under there. And we got the overhauled driveline here. I just laid it out under here. Now I'm going to climb up under there and drag it through and try to stab it through that X-frame and feed it on through. And hopefully everything lines up right. Fingers crossed. All right. See if I can't do this by myself. I mean, it doesn't get much more awkward. But I'll see here. Start feeding that through. Go ahead and scratch the paint that I just did. Get these bolts out of here before I feed that carrier bearing in. It's hanging up on the other end, so I got to come down here and pull it through. Figure out where it's hanging up at. Okay. Ow. Pinch, pinch. Ouch. Okay, we're almost there. Now I did want to grease the splines on the end of that transmission before we slide this drive shaft into it. So I'm going to do that really quick and reposition the camera. Alright, well, I got some grease on there. Let's try to feed this on through and get this never even test fitted this, like I was saying. Hopefully these are the same splines and everything. I don't even know. Transmission's in neutral, so it's spinning with me. So far, it's not just going on like butter anyway. It's fighting me a little bit here. It's hard to push it on though because the carrier bearing's also hanging up in here. So it's not letting me feed it in. And then it's spinning in neutral, so I can't really wiggle it too well. Let me shift it into gear. Maybe that would allow me to. What's going on back here? Now the carrier bearing that's up inside the X-frame is kind of hanging up on stuff too, so making it hard. And I don't know if you noticed, but I did attach the fuel line right here. And the remaining fuel line that's going to the tank is actually dripping bad gas. So there is gas in the tank. It's not good, that's for sure. I don't know how much though. What the heck are we? Okay, there we go. It's going. Just it's kind of a tight fit. Let me try to pull it back off again. Like so. See if I can't find a happier spot for it. There we go. All right. I think we're about there. Let me see. I think we need to go about another inch or so still. Alright, let's try this again. Alright, let's see. Alright, well this will be the true test of if we're lined up or not. Let's see if I can't. And now I wish the transmission was in neutral so I could spin it. Dang it. Yeah, I might have to go put it in neutral. And it looks like we're just a little too tight still. Yeah, I'm gonna go put that transmission in neutral and try it from there. There we go. All right. Now I just need to get the caps on there and get these U-bolts in. All right, let's see if these go on here, no problem. I ordered these U-bolt straps off of eBay because this car didn't have any with them. Hopefully they fit right. Yeah. Where's the other one? There. Alright, I just need to get these nuts on here and get it all tightened up. Alright, here's the center section of the X frame, and here's where the carrier bearing bolts up, and you can see those are all lined up. And so I'll go ahead and get those bolts started. I was told to have the car completely down on the suspension before I tighten them all the way up, so at least we'll get them started for now. There we go, I'll just finger tighten them now. Brand new hardware. And I'll come and tighten these up after it's down on the ground. Alright, we got the driveline all bolted in. And, well, next video, we're going to attempt to drop this tank and see what's in there. What do you guys think? Is it full of bad gas? Is it full of rust? Is it pristine? I don't know. I can't find any holes on the outside, but all the ones I've seen are rusted through to the top. And with as much Swiss cheese and rust as this has, there's a good chance that top is rusted through. She sounds like she's got something in it. Sounds pretty solid. Well, you gotta stay tuned, and we'll find out next week. Yeah, those are the wins that we need to keep coming. We don't got time for any more fails. And in the next video, we're gonna drop that gas tank, and we're gonna pray that it's usable. I mean, like I mentioned before, we have another one, so maybe between the two we could patch one together if need be, or we got an old fuel cell that we could throw in the back of this thing if we need to as well. But we're making progress, and that's the important part. We've got maybe a month before I want to get this thing driving, because I need a couple weeks to work out the bugs and start doing some of the cosmetic work, get it looking pretty for the show. It doesn't give me much time to get all the mechanicals and everything else working. The next video, we're going to be dropping that gas tank, and we're going to see what's inside. And then after that, we can start reassembling the front end, and we'll be that much closer to getting this car back on the road. So I want to give a huge shout out to all my members. Once again, guys, I couldn't do this without you. And together, we're getting these old classics back on the road. So thank you. And if you're not a member of the channel, please consider joining. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You like the video, leave me a comment, share it. And well, until next time, peace.